Good evening, everyone. If you would please turn with me to the book of December, chapter 4, verse 2021, you will see why you need a spiritual advisor to support you as you heal from trauma. Good evening, everyone. If this is your first time here with us, hey, this is Elegant Granny, your restoration strategist and creator and host of the Proactive Eye podcast. I am here today on this consistency challenge that I am challenging myself. It's something that I came up with to help me be more routine with what I need to do to be successful. And the reason why I'm doing this is because when you have experienced so much trauma in your life, it tends to push you out of bounds of who you really are. And it is so important for you to get back in bounds so that you can operate and fulfill the purpose of you being here on this earth in the first place. So today's topic rather, is why it is so important for you to have a spiritual advisor on your team as you are healing from trauma. Now, I'm going to talk about maybe like 5 or 6 different things. Of course, I wrote my notes because Granny gets off the cuff sometimes. Let me start with my experience with my spiritual advisor. Best decision I've ever made in my entire life. Best decision. I started following her. I really don't even know how I ended up finding her. I wasn't really searching for her. I was on Facebook, and I'm still not exactly sure how we ended up meeting. But anyway, we ended up meeting, and I was married at the time. It was while I was married, because I had never heard of her or seen her before I was married. And so anyway, at some point I started following her, and there was a group that she was in, and she left that group and she left it to someone to handle and just let it go. And she was on YouTube a lot, here on YouTube. And so I followed her here. She had another channel, and now she is on the previous channel, with the current channel that she's on now. And after I ran away from a traumatic relationship with my ex-husband, I started dealing with her more. I decided, before I made that decision, I had already set a plan in motion before I had even gotten away from him, of people I need in my corner to help me get back to where I needed to be in life. And I knew I needed to be where I would be positioned to be even greater than I was before I ended up in that relationship. So that's what this spiritual advisor does for me. Now, here's the thing. You have your spiritual advisor, you have your mental health therapist. They both pretty much do the same thing. The difference is the mental health therapist helps you deal with everything here. Your spiritual advisor helps you deal with everything that you deal with spiritually. Your mental health, let me see, how can I put it this way? Your mental health therapist can help you with things that you do see that you seem to have no control over, or you need help reinforcing boundaries, because you see that it's going on, but it's been going on so long, you don't know how to help it to get back into order to where it's more peaceable for you. Your spiritual advisor can help you with things you do not see. That's how I can explain it. Your spiritual advisor can hone in on some things, some unseen forces that you may not be aware that is around you that is suppressing you and repressing you, and they can see it a lot more than you can, especially when you are dealing with a crisis at the moment, or you have just gotten out of crisis and you are in recovery mode. A lot of times when you're in recovery mode, you are so exhausted, you're not trying to be aware of what's going on around you spiritually. And this is why a spiritual advisor is so important. However, you need that person in your life. And it doesn't matter if you're a Christian, it doesn't matter if you're Muslim or Buddhist, if you Hindi, it doesn't matter if you Hoodooist, it just doesn't matter. Your spiritual advisor is there to help guide you on your healing journey, just as your mental health therapist, just as your physician, just as your best friend, just as your family members. But they have a specialty in this particular area to help you. So I'm going to give you about 5 different things that I learned while dealing with my spiritual advisor. The first thing is they are able to see what you don't see. Their discernment is in action. And when you become their client, and when you are with them for counseling, and when you are with them for spiritual counsel, their discernment, they can see when, as you are speaking to them and you are talking to them about what's going on, or if you're with someone who does tarot reading or oracle deck reading for you, they can see what's going on. They can feel what's going on, and when you may not. Sometimes you may feel that something is off, but you may not know exactly what it is. And it doesn't matter, like I said, what faith you fall under. This is for all spiritual advisors. And disclaimer, make sure that spiritual advisor has your best interest. If what they are trying to tell you does not align with where you want to be as far as your healing journey, you know what's best for you. I don't. But your spiritual advisor should be reinforcing what it is that you are trying to get to. Now, there are some things that they may give us warning on. There are some things that they may make some strong suggestions because they can see spiritually far in advance some roadblocks or some danger that we are not mindful of. And if you have a wonderful spiritual advisor like I do, they will tell you what those things are. They will tell you that some of these decisions that you're making are not in your best interest, and it's wise to pay attention to it. So they can discern things, and what I like about it is they see things objectively, whereas when you are coming out of trauma or you are still in a crisis, you are seeing things subjectively. And there's a difference between the two. Subjectively, you are more focused on your hurt, your pain, your trauma, and what somebody else did to you. You're not concerned about the overall picture, which is being objective. And that's what your spiritual advisor is there for. They are there to see the whole entire thing, not just what you're focusing on. They are there to see the entire picture. And a lot of times we don't understand that, like I said, when you are in deep wounds, or your wounds are so infested because you repressed them so long, or you suppressed them so long, or they are fresh, you're just not able to see the whole entire picture. You're going to tend to be subjective. So that's one of the pros to having a spiritual advisor on your team, because spiritually they can see some things far in advance that you can't see, and they can help you to remain in a state of peace, and they can help you remain safe. And that's the number one thing, to be safe. Number two, they can help give directives on how to heal and protect yourself as you need it. Everybody's plan of what they need is not the same. and what spirit gives them to say to you is customized for you. It's not a cookie cutter. You may not have to do the same thing that I do, and I pretty much might not have to do the same thing you do. It depends on what it is that you are healing from. It depends on how long you've been there. It depends on just different things. Some things culturally based. Sometimes those things depend on that as well. So as you need it, they can give you directives on how to heal and to protect yourself. Another thing is they can help you strengthen your forces of protection. This is real big because spiritually, when you have been hit, it doesn't matter what kind of trauma it is, whether it's domestic violence, sexual assault, whether you and your best friend just had a fight, something went off between you and your kids and popped off at work. It doesn't matter. They can help you with fortify your defenses. That's what they are good for. They can help you fortify those boundaries spiritually, and they can help you fortify that. Sometimes we may need to enlarge our territory when it comes spiritual wise, and it'll take a whole nother video to explain what I mean by what I just said. But enlarge our boundaries, just like with mental health. Sometimes we don't have strong enough boundaries with people who invade our space, and it causes us mental turmoil. Well, our mental health therapist can help us strengthen those boundaries and have clear lines where they're not blurred, so that we can be strong and saying to other people, hey, I can't deal with that, and I don't need you to do such and such. I can't be a part of this because this, and this. It's harming me. I need you to be more mindful because that right there is triggering me. And please, I need you to respect how I feel so I can carry on with my healing. And the same thing spiritual wise, they can help you do the same thing spiritually. Another thing is they are great at what you need to feed your mindset spiritually for strength and endurance. We get tired a lot. When you've been hit, you get tired. You get very, very, very tired, and you get exhausted. Some people, unfortunately, gets to the point where they give up and they see absolutely no hope, and then the idea of suicide enters in. A spiritual advisor and a mental health therapist, but a spiritual advisor can actually hone in on it even further and quicker than a mental health therapist can. The thing with it is you have to have a spiritual advisor like I do. She's on point. Who knows her boundaries or his boundaries of what they can help you with and what is not. My spiritual advisor, she suggested, and I was already on it. I had it on my list. I just had not made an appointment. One time that I needed to go see a mental health therapist, and as we were talking, and I let her know that that's what I had already planned to do. I had not made an appointment yet, but it was in my plans that I was doing. And then when we came back and we were talking again, on her live, we were talking again, and I let her know that I had made an appointment. And it's very, very important to pay close attention to them. They are there to help you win. Just like a mental health therapist, just like your family, each person has their own place why they are there in your life. Be strategic when you choose one. Be very strategic. They have to match where you know you're supposed to be. I have the one that I have because she knows where I'm supposed to be. And I'm so grateful that we were lined up to meet each other, and I continued following her. Spirit kept telling me to follow her. Just keep on, just wherever she goes, if she leaves this place, just keep following her. And I kept doing that. And I'm so glad that I did, because I do not think that I would have ended up with anybody else with that much patience, especially with this Aquarian mind, because we tend to be all over the place and we tend to always be right, and which isn't right. But I am very determined that this time when I bounce back, I want to bounce back a lot higher than where I was before I was hit. That's the reason why I chose the spiritual advisor that I have. And I'm so glad I chose right. Let's see here. Another thing, the last point I wanted to make is they can help guide your feet. And what I mean by that is they can help you develop a spiritual routine. Having a spiritual routine is so very important. I cannot stress that enough. I just cannot. Having a spiritual routine is so important. And she stresses that. She even gave me homework one time, and I sent in my spiritual routine, and she seemed to be good with the routine that I came up with. And I followed that routine, because the thing is this: once you start following the routine, whatever habits that you have that you routinely do, because you got to look at why you end up going into certain things all the time. And I'm not saying that you ended up in an abusive relationship is your fault. But sometimes we got to stop and think, if this isn't our first one and we ended up in another one, and then we get out and we end up in another one, at some point we have to stop and say, hey, why is this happening? Why does this keep happening? Why am I keep revisiting this? And for me, my ex-husband was the only person I had ever dated or been with and who has treated me like that. No other person that I have ever dated has ever treated me that way. But I had seen that before. I had experienced that before. I experienced that as a child. And when I came out, before I left him, I said, I never want this to ever happen again. I need to do something about this, because being that I've seen this as a child, I know what it takes to get out, because I watched my mother do it. I watched everything that she went through, and she went through a lot. I watched her suffer so much mentally. She really did. But I also saw how she rose up, and it took a lot for her to do that. And it took a while for her to do that. And she's still working on some things, even at her age. She's in her 70s, and she is still working through some things. But this is the most peaceful I have ever witnessed her being. This is the most peaceful. And I had made up my mind that I did not want to revisit this ever again. So I needed to stop suppressing some things. And what my spiritual advisor got me to understand was I was healing, but I was not protecting. And as I said in a previous video, that before marriage, I was doing a lot of protecting and I wasn't healing. And that's how I ended up with my ex-husband. After getting away from him, I was doing a lot of healing, but no protecting. And my spiritual advisor was like, you have to do both. It's so important to do both, which is a lot of work. But if that's where you want to be, that's what you're going to do. And I am so grateful, because she is somebody that you can go to and you're going to get the truth. That's what I like about her. She's not going to bullshit with you. She's not going to pussyfoot around the barnyard. She's going to shoot it straight from the hip. She really is. That's what I like about her. I love it when people tell me what it is I need to hear, because you trying to pacify me, I'm beyond a pacifier. My mom would tell you I was one of those children. I grew up extra fast, and it's because of the way my mind is. I analyzed a lot, and she even said that I potty trained myself. But anyway, um, I love it when people challenge me. And my spiritual advisor challenges you. She makes suggestions. She don't just tell you what to do. She'll ask, may I make a suggestion? That I love, because she honors who I am by doing that. Because I have been with spiritual advisors that did not. And that didn't help at all. That's the reason why I'm so glad that intuitively I followed wherever she was and I ended up with her, because since being with her, I have seen so much progress in myself. Because you know how sometimes, and I'm all off the paper now, but you know how sometimes you can spend time with people and you just start wondering, like, why the hell do I even talk to this person? How did we even get here? I don't experience that with her. And I'm so glad I do not experience that with her. Every time we speak, every time we converse, every time I come on her live, I'm always learning. Always, 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 always. Because before marriage, I used to always be around people where I was the one always teaching. That was draining. That was so draining. It's because I had nobody pouring into me. That was what my main problem was. I was protecting, protecting, protecting. And because I'm so independent, people saw, okay, she can do that herself. She catches on real quick. No. Sometimes people who appear strong are the ones who need a lot of help, the most help. And sometimes being high functioning, um as a person who has been hit spiritually, a lot of people miss it. They miss when you need support. And sometimes when I see people, I'm learning how to feel and see people who need help. Being in the nursing field for 30 some years, that has really helped me to realize when someone needs that. But there are a lot of people, and I've experienced it. You say, "Hey, how you doing?" The spiritual advisor I have, she's gonna know when something is off. She's gonna know, and she's gonna let you know, "Hey, something ain't right." And that's what I like about her, because I don't have to worry about being caught off guard. But she makes it so that I learn how to do this for myself, not where I depend on her. That's another thing that I love about her. I'm not going to be dependent on her. She doesn't want us to be dependent on her. She wants us to be able to fend for ourselves. And she teaches us. Not she tells us what to do, but she teaches us. It is so important to find a spiritual advisor who is willing to teach you and be patient with you long enough for you to grasp on what it is that you need to grasp on, so that you can be strengthened and fortified, so you can continue healing and protecting yourself. That's pretty much all that I had to. I didn't really mean to speak this long. It's saying that I'm right at 24 minutes. Told you Granny loves to talk. But anyway, I hope everyone has had a very good evening. I love you all. Thank you for hanging there with me. Thank you for coming in and hitting me up in the comments section. I read them. I'm loving them. I'm loving the engagement. I want you to be safe and love on yourself today. Well, it's evening time for me, but this will post Sunday. And I want you to spend some time with you. Love on you. Do something for you. You do a lot for everybody else. Now do something for you. And I want you to remember, healing is a continuous process, not a one-shot deal. Much love, peace, light, and healing vibes.